I would like to ask you if you have any observations, any reflections or questions from the previous videos that you've been watching, because I would love to, that we engage in those topics if you have any questions.
What came up for me this month with the rebozo, first of all, I loved watching the introduction to the history of the rebozo. Of course, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know all those details. Like, you know, that it was part of the women who fought for the independence of Mexico and all that. So that was quite like, wow, that's so amazing and so important. So I was first introduced to rebozos when I started being a doula some years back, and I didn't quite know what to do with it. You know, I hadn't done any courses or anything, but it was very, very intuitive. And I didn't have one. I didn't have one for my first maybe couple of years because I was in Malaysia. And so I used a batik. I had a long batik. And sometimes when I was working with clients, I would ask them if I could shake their butt. So I just knew some very basic moves at that time, like shake their butts, do the, you know, things that you learn like as a doula, very basic. And, but always very curious. Then finally I got one. It was a gift. It came from Mexico. It was from one of my clients there. And so it's a very beautiful one and everything. So I started like trying to get more into it. And now I have a broader collection and a deeper understanding. And one of your first videos this year was the massage with the rebozo. And for me, that was like, wow, this is amazing. You can use it in so many different ways. So I started practicing, and my oldest daughter, she's 19, and I did it a couple of times. And then this week, I did it again after watching your video on the series of rebozando, right? Like rebozing. And what I really want to say is that my other experience with rebozos was with the closing ceremonies, because I had one done on myself after Benjamin's birth. I don't remember if you remember, I told you, Rita Pino was one of my midwives in Brasilia, and she offered this to me. I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no idea. Like, I didn't know what a rebozo was. I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't understand anything about the ceremony, but she wanted to gift it to me, and I accepted it, of course. So it was wonderful. And years later, I know this was last month's subject, but I just want to bring it back because it involves the rebozo in a way that, like, it's a ceremonial tool. I completely understand that it's a ceremonial tool when we bring it into the birth space, or working with a pregnant woman, or closing her, or whatever we're doing, like within this childbearing container. So I am in the midwifery school here, in the birth midwifery school, and my friends know that I do the ceremony. I don't do it like that, like I don't advertise it, but I have done it for some women to whom I've offered or who have asked me. So I do it like in a very, very ceremonial way, right? And I learned it from you, and I learned it also from Nicola Goodall. Nicola, the birth keeper, I also had done a course with her before. And yeah, so then one question that came for me was like, people were like, one of my friends were like, can you teach us how to do the closing ceremony with the rebozos and everything? And then another person in my group was like, oh no, this is so triggering. We can't be talking about rebozos and closing of the ceremonies like this because this is cultural appropriation and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So I had to sit with that for a moment and see how it feels for me, because here in the States, the cultural appropriation thing is like quite strong. And it's like, oh, you don't come from this culture. You don't know what you're doing. You can't use a rebozo, and you can't do the ceremony, and you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So And I sat with it in my heart, and I try to learn from people who are correct, that I assume are correct. Like, for example, you. I know you're an anthropologist. I know you understand your culture and really respect all the history behind it and the richness and everything. I've also been learning from a birth keeper, a doula, and a sobadera. She lives in San Diego, but she's in Mexico now, from Mexico. So she's teaching about fajas, and she's been teaching us about sobadas, self-sobadas and things like that. So I bought my faja from her, for example. I'm doing a course with Rachel Garcia in traditions, and I have a new rebozo. She's going to reteach all her way of using rebozo. So I'm like, I feel like I'm learning from responsible people, and that I've been using it coherently with due respect to a culture that is not my own.
Yeah.
But I sat with it, and I decided that I don't consider this cultural appropriation, and I don't want to get stuck in this cultural appropriation thing. So I can't use a rebozo because, people have different experiences, and they have experiences where they've learned from people who didn't know what they were doing, who didn't respect at all what they were doing. So I don't know. So a big commentary just to bring you this question. What do you feel about it, and how do you feel about bringing all this ancient, traditional, juicy knowledge from your culture and bringing it into the world? I know this is not the first time you're teaching rebozos. You've been doing this for years. So could you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. It's absolutely an important topic that you're bringing up, because there's a lot of sensitivity going into this work, a lot of deep respect, sensitivity, and consideration for the people who would just say come from the source. The Mexican women who are bringing it out into the world, who are teaching it, who are offering the services, and who have also learned from other midwives that are from Mexico, who are traditionally trained, but also in some way we could say that they depend on their work for their livelihood, but also to maintain as pure as possible all the traditional steps of the ritual. So I can speak to you as an anthropologist, but also as a midwife and as a Mexican woman, because I also do know that there are many people out there taking bits and pieces of other cultures, and in this case, Mexican culture being so close to the U.S. Or the Native Americans, within the U.S. People who are not from that culture taking bits and pieces and even competing with the people themselves, the people who are actually from that original culture. So my feeling is, if there is anybody in your region who can teach you and who can work with you so that you can acquire and learn and respect the most traditional possible version of any ritual, then of course you would do that, like you say you're doing. And then as far as working with it, my feeling is, and that's something I do in Mexico, I'm Mexican, and even in Mexico, I would do this. If anybody came to me looking for any ritual or any kind of service or any type of offering that I could give, but that I knew in town there was somebody who had more knowledge or more legitimacy in their learning of that knowledge, I would always say, look, so and so can do it beautifully. She knows a lot more than I. She's closer to the source. Why don't you look her up? And then if that person couldn't do it, then of course I will do it. But I would always give, it's like an elder person. You always have the elder coming first. You always have the person, you don't go into a person's home and just start using their things and abusing them and just making use of them for your own purpose, right? You have to have respect. So when we learn any tradition, any ritual, or any technique, we always have to give credit, always give credit, because that's a way of respecting, and also give a chance for that person to be the first one to offer that service. Or for example, if you're going to buy a rebozo, go to the source of who has the rebozos from Mexico, because those are rebozos that are made by Mexican hands, who will actually be profiting, you know, financially from your buy. So just don't jump over the steps, you know, of the honoring and the respecting of the just the original people. But it doesn't mean that you cannot do that service, or you cannot teach it, or you cannot do the work so that it actually stays alive, and that the women who want that service can actually have it. You know, that's such a blessing. It's such a privilege for a woman to receive this care. So if there's nobody else who can do it, and you are there to do it, and you will do it the best possible way you know, because you will always take care of learning as much as you can from the people who know it better. And like you said, as far as you know, because there's no absolute right and wrong, or absolute, oh, only because she's Mexican, she knows it better. Maybe somebody else is also Mexican, and she's older, and she doesn't respect it. So it's always kind of subjective. But I think the best we can do is to try and honor as much as we can the roots and the sources, and give priority to them. If you know, if in your town there's other Mexican midwives offering it, always tell your women that they can go there, you know, as well as a source. And if they can't do it, then you will do it. I think it's a really interesting thing, this cultural appropriation. I was at a conference last year here in Brazil, and you know, I have been selling the rebozos for many years, many years. And all of a sudden there was a booth selling rebozos, but they were not rebozos. They were Brazilian people who had somebody do the textiles for them, and they had them cheaper, and they called them rebozos. And that was really uncomfortable. And, you know, for the first time in years, we weren't really able to make, you know, we spent more than what we earned. It's like we basically ended up not being able to make it that year. And it felt really, really weird. And I really never came out to tell them about it. And the organizer of the conference is my, you know, I would say my friend, because we know each other for 1,000 years, but it didn't cross her mind that that wouldn't be appropriate. And that's something that I still have to talk about, because it's kind of sensitive. It's kind of, it almost feels embarrassing to me. Hey, you can't have anybody else selling because I want to be selling. It just sounds like it's a monetary issue, but it's not really the monetary issue at the base, even though for many Mexican women, it is their livelihood. The rebozos they sell, the midwifery services they offer, the services as a healer, sobadas, you know, the care that they give to women. So we shouldn't just dismiss the financial issue as being superficial or capitalistic. It, you know, people do need to eat, and, you know, in order to survive with dignity, you know, some other people might be taking money out of their pockets or the bread out of their mouths. So I think it's appropriate to think on cultural appropriation and try and open one's mind to see as much as possible if we're overstepping. And if we have any question about it, ask somebody you trust to help you just explore that issue. But it is a sensitive issue. It's very important. And for example, I think I'm going to definitely write to my friend, the organizer, and say, look, please, if she's going to be selling them, don't call them rebozos. And just don't call them that, because they're not. You know, they're not even 100% cotton. They're elastic. You know, you can't be doing the work that you need with some tissue that's elastic. It's just not right. And I did talk to the seller. I actually brought up my courage, and I did talk to her about it, and she was really defensive. At first, she was giving me flowers, like, oh, I learned from you in a class, and here I am. And I was like, wow. And my kids were also like feeling really uncomfortable because of what's underneath it, the lack of respect and the lack of consideration for the implications. So it's a really interesting topic, Maida, very interesting. And I think in this case, we're talking about rebozo, we're talking about the postpartum ritual, about any type of use with the rebozo, but I think we always have to think of possibly, especially us who travel to other countries. You've been living in other countries for many years. I think all of us are in countries perhaps that are not our own, right? And when we go to a different country, we have to step very lightly. I'm not, for example, the activist that I used to be in Mexico, because here in Brazil, I am very respectful of the activists and their politics and their way of feeling and thinking. I don't want to come here and stir things up in a way that I think that may feel like I'm messing up their midwifery or their humanization of birth movement. So everything I do it with a lot of consciousness. At least I try to not be feeling like I'm taking over their culture in some way that would be inappropriate or disrespectful. And how many years after you're living in a country can you consider yourself not a foreigner? And I don't know. I think we're always foreigners. Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's huge. And I've been having these thoughts over and over again. Like, because I've been trying to find my place here and it hasn't been easy at all. And in Malaysia, I kind of like within the expat community, it flew very smoothly and easily. And I built a community, a like-minded community, circles and things. And I thought first that it's because I was changing from doula to midwife, but the role doesn't really matter. It's just because this is a big move and it's been a year and the whole COVID, everything kind of got in the way. Also, not to make it an excuse, but just to acknowledge the reality of things. This is how things are. Los Angeles hasn't been a pleasant place to live in as a city for the past 7 months. It's been hectic. It's been stressful. It's been stressful and it's been completely weird and different. And, people don't get together, everything is closed. It's like, it's very weird. And so here I am trying to, navigate being in a foreign land and, trying to make connections and making friends and finding a little bit of community here and there. But I'm always a foreigner. Like, will I ever be able to work here? Because I'll always be a foreigner. Or, and when I go to Brazil, I feel like a foreigner. It's like, oh my God, it's,
yeah.
I don't know if Julia has the same experience, but I do feel like it. Not all the time, but most of the time when I am in Brazil, I feel so different.
Yeah. Well,
so
before we ask Julia about her experience, I would like to give you the contact of a beautiful, beautiful doula in Los Angeles who is Brazilian, but who has lived for over 20 years in Los Angeles. And she is a strong doula. And she's a fish in water in, at least in Los Angeles. I don't know what she would say about Brazil, but you should meet her, and she's fantastic. Her name is Ana Paula Marqueu. And I'll give you, while Julia tells us her point of view, I'm going to put on the chat here her email.
Thank you so much.
Yes, she's fantastic. Great. Yeah, she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And I'm sure she will relate to a lot of what you're saying and hopefully give you a hand in meeting new people. So
thank you.
Yes, I'll put
thank you so much for the.
And Julia, what would you say about this?
Well, yes, I feel my English is not so good. It's a very Indian English. I can understand you perfectly, but to speak a little bit English style. I feel the same, like this feeling that I cannot feel at home here or or if I come back to Brazil also, I just feel that something in me that actually I feel I am from Earth, no, like we are all from the same planet, and then I think we need to learn how to respect and to honor the tradition and the source from the things, but also to open with this respect, to open to expand the good things, no, for everybody. So when I was looking for the watching the movie, and I was thinking about the because the history tells that the rebozo comes from Spanish, from Spain, from Spanish woman, like this mixture with the cute, yes. So I was thinking about, like, I was looking for the Spanish midwives here, and actually it's very difficult to know and to find traditional midwives here.
Yeah.
No, it's
In,
forbidden also.
in fact, Julia, the rebozo as a cloth, as a clothing, vestimenta, as a clothing, it seems to have evolved from the mantilla from Spain and the pre-Hispanic clothing that have somehow come together and evolved into rebozo. But the rebozo does not exist in Spain. And the rebozo as applied to midwifery, it doesn't exist.
Doesn't,
So
yes.
it was born in Mexico. It is sprouted in Mexico.
Yes, I could understand this, but I was thinking about India because actually before, um, even before no rebozo, I was the first time I was in India it was 2008. I was a doula, but I didn't know about the rebozo very well. Yes, I knew, but and I was talking about this. Maybe in India they because they use a lot of clothing, and I was thinking about this like how other cultures use the this tool, or if they doesn't use at all, and this what you told me now, no, here in Spain they didn't know how to use this tool, but I was curious about this. And what do you say, no, the importance to honoring and to respect the source from the things from the cultures, but not like a separation, or no, something that um, limitate you to use and to spend and to do good for other people. So this is
Yes,
very
especially
important.
because if we don't teach it to other people, like I'm teaching the world, it's a tradition that would eventually die. Or the people who more or less know how to do it. For example, a lot of people I know, they just do the closing. Oh, they don't do the massage, they don't do the herbal steam bath, they don't do any of the sweat, they just do the closing, and that is not the ritual. And if you
Yes,
just
yes.
minimize it and make it so succinct that you end up passing it on in an incomplete form, then the actual tradition of it will be lost. So that is why I feel that if there is anybody out there who is willing to put the effort of doing the whole ritual, which takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, then it doesn't matter if they're Arabic or they're from France or they're from Israel, let them do it, because they will be doing so much good to the women in their own communities. So like you say, Julia, we can't be separatistic and being antagonistic with one another. We have to be inclusive and respectful. It's probably the combination of that, which sums it up.
I were with a pregnant woman last week, I think, and I did the not the ceremony, the relaxation with the rebozo. And so all the last weeks I was doing the relaxation with my kids also, because they saw me. I can share a photo if you allowed me.
Yeah.
No, I need to be an amphitryon to
Oh,
share
let me see how
uh,
that.
a photo from my from Nilo, my
Okay,
youngest
I'm making you.
son.
Oh, if I make you host, then you need to give it back to me, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I made you.
and and it was very beautiful because look,
Oh, that is
he slept.
beautiful.
Yes, he slept with the rebozo around. Then I took it out of from from his eyes to take the photo and took a long sleep, very relaxing. And
Wow,
it was very beautiful
that
because
is,
I think this is something that we need to put in our life, no, something real, not just something that we consume. You buy, I buy your course, and then no, to use and to teach the good way to use this. This is a very good thing for everybody, so I think we
exactly.
need to
Oh,
think on this way.
send me that photo by email. I would love
Yes.
to use it sometime because I believe in what you're saying so deeply that the knowledge, it's no use if we just do it like an exotic thing occasionally.
Yeah.
Apply it and put it into our everyday life. And then we become really experienced and skilled as well. And then, of course, we'll find out a lot more of how it works and we will invent applications. It just becomes alive. That's really important. That was beautiful. So he took a long nap.
Yes, a long nap, and all my three kids and my husband also. We were proving, no, and my daughter was learning also because she's with me. She wants to watch all the videos. She asks me all every day if there is some new video to see, and
Wow.
she's in love with all this world, with the birds and the birds and
Wow.
so yeah.
That's beautiful. Soon we will be posting the new video. I think this next one will come out on the 1st of October. And we're putting it together. There's so much beautiful material that we're just in ecstasy putting it all together because I have been saving all the footage for years and years. So it's just it's a wealth, so nice. And I'm also so touched because as we are producing these videos, my own daughter and my own sons are like, wow, we have lived with you all our lives, but we never knew so much about what you're doing. And now that we're producing these videos, they're learning great amounts about midwifery, about the meconium and about all the details of the heartbeat and the ultrasound. It's very interesting that our kids in this pandemic are having that
Yes, this is
opportunity
very beautiful.
to take a dive.
It's a very beautiful thing that is happening in this pandemic. I think that because I saw you with your family, and I thought exactly this. Wow, they are learning a lot together, and I think we are learning a lot together here. And yeah, it's a quite difficult time, but we need to be in focus with these good things, not
Yeah,
to improve these good things.
yeah.
I was asking, okay, this is another question about other things. So I wait.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because I just remembered I was talking with Marcela about the formation. I don't know
The the
because
training.
yes, the training. Yes, here in Spain we need to be a nurse to be a midwife, no, to be a certified midwife, and there is no little like I know three or two or three only traditional midwives.
Mhm.
There is no traditional midwives. Every woman needs to, and here they are very restrict. No, so it's quite. Marisa Alcalá is a very beautiful midwife from Tenerife, and I think 2 years ago they were denuncied. How do you say?
Uh,
Denunciada.
she was sued. Was it legally? Yeah, or
Yeah,
denounced?
from
Yeah.
denounced. I don't know from the nurse. So she
Oh,
needs
by
to
a
stop.
nurse?
Yeah, from by the group of nurses from the Iceland. So she needed to stop to
It,
delivery or to yeah.
she stopped working?
She stopped it. Yes, she stopped working. Now they are two young women working like they used to use video chamadas like video cam during the birth with her to be with her and all. But this is yeah, little bit crazy thing. And here in Spain it works like this. No, and you need I know in Brazil also you need someone to give you the paper, no, from to the registration and all of this. So I was thinking about uh, how can we change this? How can we find a middle way, no, like a healthy way that we can have some kind of learning and some, but I don't know. And I want to hear from you. What do you think is important? Because I hear from some friends and some people. No, it's important to learn all about nursery to be a midwife. And yes, I know that it's in Holland and in England and United States, in Brazil, also in São Paulo, you have um, the, the formation for midwives. You know?
Mhm.
You don't need to, but this is not in here. It's not like this. So I want to hear from you. What do you think about this
I
formation?
think that there definitely should be always midwives who are separate from the medical system, because it's two different things. It's absolutely, um, midwifery is not part of the medical system in the way we look at birth. So for people to have to go through nursing, they're already shaping their mind in a limiting way. You're already looking at the woman in terms of high risk, low risk, and interventions, and you doing that already brings limitations to the birth experience. So the nurse midwives that I know, both in the US and in Brazil, different places in Europe, they're always trying to clean themselves, you know, to take away the contamination that they acquired through the training. So a lot of the midwives that are direct entry midwives or traditional midwives can also learn how to put an IV or how to solve a medical situation when it comes up during the birth. You know, like there's no limiting as far as how much we can learn and how many skills we can have. But if you go through the nursing program first, or the medicalized system vision, you will definitely, I mean, it's a beautiful option for those people who want it, but you will definitely have to clean yourself in order to not be so contaminated as far as natural, like true natural birth. And here in Brazil, even though everybody says you need to be a nurse midwife, enfermeira obstetra, you don't. There's a lot of traditional midwives, and for instance, myself, I write a letter saying I was the midwife, and I sign it, and I fill out a document, and the cartório, which is the birth certificate office, they will take it. They take it, and they give the birth certificate to the people, to the couples and families. I know that some cartorios, you know, the birth certificate offices are more picky than others, but we eventually always manage. And of course, that's Brazil. But other countries in which I would say probably France and a few other countries who are more rigid, I'm sure the more liberal midwives will run into trouble, and then, you know, of course, changes have to take place. And the world right now seems to going right wing a lot, you know, going very narrow and very rigid, and not at all in the direction that the true traditional midwifery would want it to be. But it's a big issue what you're asking, Julia, because I think it requires for a lot of women who want to be midwives to have the courage to say, I'm going to learn outside of the system, and I'm going to, it takes longer. Yeah, like you, Mayra. It takes longer because you have to train more. You have to be an apprentice to 1 or 2 or 3 different midwives. So you learn and you get life experience in birth. But I'll tell you something, the midwives who go that route, they have a lot more experience than the midwives who go through the conventional training. Many nurse midwives, when they start being a midwife, they haven't even seen 10 or 15 natural births. They sometimes see 20 births, but they're hospital birth with interventions, with the protocols that are somewhat rigid. And the midwives who are trained outside of the system, most of them have a lot of life experience. Most of them are mothers. Most of them have endured and learned how to solve situations in the home with their mentor midwives that the other midwives won't have the opportunity of doing before they go out and become active midwives. So I think it takes courage, and it takes not only being one person, like talking, like if you talk with other women, and like the courage of a group will be what makes things change. Because when it's just 1 or 2, sometimes the policies and the government and all the Ministry of Health protocols won't change. But also, if there is several midwives already doing that, and women who consider them their midwife, because that's the consumer's demand, also will make a change. So it requires a lot of communication, courage, and perseverance to have those changes taking place. That we can't abandon that. We can't just let the beast swallow us, because, you know, I think that the witches that were burned back in the Middle Ages, we are here thanks to them, you know, because not all of them died. The ones that
We're back.
we're
We're
back.
back.
Yeah, which means we didn't die out. You know, those who survived became stronger, and we've been going for centuries and millennium, trying to support and protect birth for women. And I think outside of the system is definitely an area that needs to remain as strong, at least as strong as the midwives who work within the system. It's not one or the other, but it's both, definitely both.
Can I speak a little bit about this? Thank you so much, Julia, for bringing this up. And thank you, Naoli, for your wise words and this, telling us that it has to continue, it has to be strong. So this is my journey too. I'm a direct entry midwife, and you could call unregulated. I'm not interested in certification. Well, maybe certification, maybe CPM down the road, maybe, but not now. No licensure for sure. So in California is a very strict state, and there's a rainbow of different kinds of midwives. And, you know, nurse midwives being, of course, they've been in this country and they've completely taken over the midwifery practice. Most midwives in the States are nurse midwives. Then you have direct entry midwives like Naoli, you have CPMs, you have licensed midwives in states where that, and you also have people like me, people who are, navigating the system and learning from different sources. So for example, the school I attend is not an accredited school with the national thing. So it's not a recognized school. Mm-hmm. I'll never have a recognized paper saying that I've trained and I am a midwife. I don't think I'll ever have that. And I'm not interested in that. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is partially because I come from Brazil. I had traditional midwives myself for my home births, and never had an issue to register my kids or anything like that, because midwifery in Brazil is, I think the word is illegal, right? It's, and parteiras da tradição, right? So the traditional midwives, and I pray that this continues to be so, that people don't decide to go crazy, and because that would be the demise the death of midwifery in Brazil completely, I think, if they went well. Anyways, what's going on right now for me is this. So slowly I found my tribe because I understood my calling and I understood my truth. I understood that I didn't want to go the legal route, because most of the midwives who are licensed, I'm not saying everybody, and I don't know all of them, of course, but they tend to be more medicalized because they have to abide to many rules and regulations. They are constricted in their practice by many sources. It's been taken away from them. They've given this power away. It's been taken away from them. They can't attend births before 37 weeks, after 42 weeks. There's a lot of natural inductions going around in home births, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, because people are reaching their dates and they can't, or they abandon care, or, I mean, the number of problems, the list is huge. They can't attend breech on their own. They can't attend breech. They can't attend twins. They can't attend this. They can't do this. Like last year, the licensed midwives here won their right to keep attending VBAC. Like, they wanted to take that away also. And eventually, this will be taken away, I guess. Because the system is not going to go, oh, traditional midwives, you know so much, you have so much skill, you're so beautiful, oh yes, the spiritual aspect of birth and the holistic midwifery. No, we can't beat the system, and the system is not going to pat us on the head and say, oh yes, you're so beautiful. No, I think I have to do the work myself, and I have to find women who are aligned with this work. And even though it's illegal, I don't think about it.
Mhm.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be in the loop of fear.
Yeah.
Oh, what if somebody, every now and then a friend of mine, I work here in a well-known doctor's office. He attends home births, Dr. Stuart Fishbein. And my dear friend who is his official student, because I'm the unofficial student, right? Of course. So, I go there, but it's like, I don't really belong. But she's wonderful. She's my wonderful friend. I love her. She's in love with all the things that, we share and all the things. But, the other day she was like, I was looking for somebody to do a prenatal consultation, and looking for myself and looking for my friend who also lives here and is in the birth community. And we need to practice, right? Sit with a woman, do the clinicals, talk, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, be careful. Be careful. Like, be careful with what? I'm talking directly to this woman. And, because the fear is there. People, but just please be careful. Don't go posting on Instagram that you're doing prenatals. The fear is here. And, I've served a woman already as an independent, authentic midwife because I was invited to it. I didn't go looking for it. And I'm not an experienced midwife yet. I'm still in the process of being a student, looking for apprenticeship opportunities. I'm looking, trying to serve more women in their postpartum period. So it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And here trying to learn as much as I can. I don't know, at some point, maybe the community, as Naoli said, will call me a midwife. Maybe. When this will happen eventually, I hope so, and that's that. But the legalities of it is something that I'm very passionate about it, and we discuss this a lot in our school because we are rebels.
Yeah,
we are rebels. We're like, this is wrong.
What is
the
name of
midwifery?
The name of your school? What is the name of your school?
It's called Indie Birth. I'll write it in the chat.
Indie Birth.
Indie Birth Midwifery School.
Is it an online school or is it in the press?
Yes, it's an online school, and there's two main teachers, Marion Green, who lives in Sedona, Arizona, and Margot Blackstone, who was her apprentice and lives in Minnesota. So every state has different laws, right? So for example, where Margot lives in Minnesota, traditional midwives are not illegal. It's just part of the possibilities of being a midwife.
Mhm.
In Utah, either. It's not illegal to be a non-licensed, unregulated midwife. But
Mhm.
here and in Arizona, yes, it is. And marrying my main teacher who lives in Sedona, she used to be a licensed midwife in Arizona. And at some point, about 8 years ago, she gave her license back to the state. And she has been a midwife forever.
Mhm.
And eventually they started the school, blah, blah, blah.
She gave back her license, but she continued working.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the revolution is here, working for the new paradigm.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
how
just
we,
opening the website. It looks beautiful. It looks
yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
There is
I
There's a
think,
large
you're
podcast
right.
archive.
I think you're right, Mayra, in everything you said. And I just want to point out the aspect of not holding on to the fear or latching onto the fear, because anything that we do from fear is not necessarily a clean, energetically clean thing that we're going to be doing. No matter if it's good or bad, it's just not. It's not pure. It's not free. It's not going to be expansive. So if we act out of fear, we are weighing down, and we're not going to go very far. So I think it's really important too, and I will say that same for me, when I'm at a birth and things are going beyond what was expected, or maybe longer, maybe it's more um, challenging. I don't go, oh my God, what if she has a hemorrhage? What if this? I don't go there. I just look at what is happening. What can I do with what is? And you end up attending births that later on, if you ever look back at them, you would say, wow, that was totally extraordinary. But if you look at it through the eyes of fear, you would say that's abnormal. That's not normal. And that woman would have ended up going to the hospital if she was in the hands of a midwife who is base fear. But if you're actually working with life and working with sustaining it and securing the life energy and the light, the vitality, you end up being able to accompany births that are extraordinary. And that makes those births teach you and make you a much better midwife. And the woman and the child, they can be born with dignity. They can give birth with absolute dignity and touching their true power. And so, what's the point of being a midwife if you're going to be censoring and limiting, because of your fears and because of the culture's fears, the birth experience? It just goes against it. It totally goes against the principle of being a midwife and accompanying birth. And I know that's a big challenge for a lot of my students, because many of them are either nurse midwives, or they've been taught to be what we say in Portuguese, certinhas, to be like, do everything right and by the book, yes, and like not risk anything, or like your friend said, be careful. I was just telling my daughter, if I did everything by the book and I was a conventional person, where would we be? Who would you guys be? We wouldn't certainly not be in Brazil. We would certainly not be doing this workshop online, which is demanding 14 hours a day of work out of everybody. We would be like, oh no, it's like 9 to 5 and this and that, and what if this? So it's a beautiful thing to be unafraid and intelligent at the same time, and not lose sight of one's goals. What is the goal? Am I here for the woman, or am I here to protect myself and to live a comfortable life and just sort of secure myself? Those are really important questions. Every time we're going to question anything that seems a little bit more difficult or outside of the box, or that there is no path for it. When there is no path, you just have to make a path. And it's exciting. And it's usually a place that is just beautiful, because it's not that common, what do you call it in English, the beat up path that everybody takes. There's a lot of things we can talk about, huh, Maida and Julia? It's been really nice being the three of us. We're having a personal conversation over Zoom.
Yes,
That's
very
really beautiful. Really beautiful.
Yes.
Well, it's almost 1 hour after. I would like to know if you have like any other topics or questions that we could use like to wrap up our session, or if you feel happy to go on with your day. How do you feeling?
I'm feeling complete and I'm feeling so grateful to have had this opportunity to have a two people session with you, like direct. This is like heaven. This is such a gift. Thank you so much, Naoli. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Muito, muito,
Beautiful for
muito
me too.
grata.
It's beautiful. It's it just feels juicy, that direct contact with people who are alive doing work in this world. It always fills the heart up with enthusiasm. I am very grateful too. What about you, Julia? Good to go with your beautiful children and enjoy the weekend? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'm very happy and very grateful for this, for to be with you and to hear. And yes, this for me is uh, I'm doula for a long, long time, but I think also this is something that we need to heal also, because this fear is also like if you are doula, you learn that you cannot touch, that you cannot go inside the medical uh, uh, cares, no. So yeah, you need to go forward from this to be a midwife and study. And so this is some limitation also that I think now it's time to broke, no, to break. I have 3 kids, three home birth that give me a lot of knowledge to be with another woman. So now I think I just need actually to find some more, no, some woman that here I could not found yet to follow, to be with, no, and to learn from. I need to find. And
What is the
next week,
city? What city are you in?
Conil de la Frontera.
Conil?
I am yes in south of
Yes.
Cadiz, south of Spain. Next week we have the first national encuentro,
Meeting or gathering?
meeting from midwives and NOLA and all, and there will be 3 or 4, maybe 5 traditional midwives and a lot of midwives from Spain also, and we'll meet in the Ecovilla. So it will be very beautiful on the up of the mountain without, yes,
Wow.
3 days together to celebrate and to ritualize and to be together
Wow.
for this, for meet, for know each other, for change information, for help each other, because here in Spain it's almost dying, you know, all the traditional knowledge from midwifery. So I'm very happy. Thank
Would you send to us, Julia,
Yes,
um, the information of that gathering? I would love to read about it, look it up.
yes,
Sounds
of course.
beautiful.
I can.
Yeah?
Yes, I can.
Maybe you can
Somos
send it.
una se llama.
What is it called?
Somos una.
Somos
We
una.
are one. Yes.
Somos una. Is it online? Is it, can, if I type it up, it'll be there? No?
I don't know, but it is a presential meeting.
Wow.
We'll be there together without mask. No, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
love it. I love it. I'm going to be there with you in spirit. I want to do the
Yes,
same. Let's have a
yes.
traditional midwifery conference.
It sounds
Because
beautiful.
this is bigger. This is bigger than only birth. No, we are
Wow.
talking about life. We are talking about
Yes.
confidence in life.
Wow.
And here in Spain, I don't know how you are living all this word picture, yeah, all this word movie. But here it's incredible. Like I'm feeling in my body. We are
Wow.
creating a reality with fear, and we are uh, doing together a very angry, a very bad reality to be alive in this. So,
Mm.
so we are going there to. be together and to see each other and okay, we can do
Wow.
together something different. Yes,
Wow.
because here on hospitals they are separating the babies from the mothers
Wow.
because of COVID.
Wow.
So 2 days ago, a mom was like with some se fue a juicio, no, a denunciation also because she was 12 hours separated from her
Wow.
baby and she was COVID negative. There was no argument, but these things are happening here. So also another things are happening. So we are going to be together 3 days there
Wow.
to be strong and to look to the life with another way.
Yeah. I think you could put some of that information on the website, not on the web, on the Facebook forum, because then the whole group of this workshop could get to know, and maybe some of them will go too. Yeah, the ones who are in Spain. Yes, I would be very
Okay.
appreciative if you can do that.
Yeah, I'm not using Facebook, but I can go inside just to put it and to
Okay.
share because I think it's important. Everybody can see. Yes,
Right.
this year is a national because of the, the situation. No? But the idea is next year it will be international meeting. So to everybody to come and to be together, all the midwives and nurse and all this and nurse no and doulas. Yes.
Mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, the both of you.
Thank you.
And sending you big kisses and a beautiful, beautiful month. We'll see each other soon. And next week you'll have a new video. Okay?
Thank you, you both. Thank you, Naoli.
Goodbye.
Nice to meet you.